Alright, hi, my name's Dia, and welcome back to my second episode or part 2 of my first episode of my podcast. It's me, Dia. So, I think yesterday, or actually, no, in my previous episode, I left off at saying that I used to go to piano classes. And just to catch you up, I'm 21 years old. I'm born in India. I live in Gurgaon at the moment, born in Delhi. And I'm a culinary arts student. And you will find out more about that in detail later on as I speak, maybe in my next episode, if I'm not able to get to that today. Anyways, so like I said in my previous podcast that I used to learn piano and my brother used to learn the guitar. And I just want to make a correction here. I also said that he lives in Chicago. I apologize. He used to live in Chicago. He is currently in Portland working at Nike. So just a little correction I wanted to make there. Now let's continue. I apologize for my cough, but I will let you know why I'm coughing also. I mean, nothing serious, but just FYI. Okay, so let's start. So, I used to like to play the piano, but then at that time, I also started baking. So, someone told me that they know of these baking classes which I should join, And in my mind, I remember picturing that, I still remember that day I pictured, I don't know why out of all the things. I mean, I could have pictured cookies or cakes or whatever, but I pictured chocolate truffles, those expensive chocolates that you get, So I pictured that. And I was like, if I eat it, I thought to myself, then why not learn how to make it? And I don't know if I was referring to those chocolates in specific or some cakes or something like that. So I remember going for these classes in Delhi. So we went and I went with my parents because again I was very small. And we spoke about those classes and it was like we decided on 5. And I remember that my favorite dish was fish and chips. Still is. So I was like, I wanted to learn how to make that as well. So the thing is, I still remember the first thing that I ever made the first thing that I ever made in my life was brownies. I still remember. So I went to her house and she had a pretty big house and we had decided on 5 classes that I'm going to do. And so I remember on my first day, I made brownies and I was so happy, and I still remember using an electric beater for the first time, the hand beater. And I remember my teacher was like, okay, just be careful with it, if you lift it up, then all your batter will come all over your face and all of that. So I was like, oh my god, okay, that's scary. So I remember getting to know a lot about baking on my first class ever. And then we made brownies and I was so happy, and I remember we topped it off with some walnuts and I was like, oh my god, this is so yummy and stuff. And then I was like so excited to bring it to my parents, and then when they would pick me up, I'd be like, look, mom and dad, I made this. And they were also obviously so happy, as was I. Then I also got to take it home, and I remember the entire process was so fun. And then I remember having 2 more classes, and I also remember in one of the classes, so out of 5 we only had 3. So because 2 classes are still due, by the way, and it's I don't even know, 10 years later. Anyways, so I remember sitting down and maybe my second class or first class, and my teacher was handing out recipes to me. So I remember carrying this notebook in which I would write down the recipes, and she was asking me, okay, would you like to make cookies, and then she was like, coffee cookies. I was like, yeah, that sounds interesting. So she gave me the recipe for that. And then I remember back then I literally had no equipment at all except for a whisk in my house that was only used because my mom used to bake somewhat. She still does actually, but just I bake better than her. Shh. Everybody knows that. Anyways, so we had no baking equipment and stuff like that. So I remember having this measuring cup kind of a thing, which did not measure in cups or anything. It measured in something, I don't remember. But so I remember I was trying to convert that. So the first thing I ever made at home, so I remember I wanted to try those brownies at home as well. So I went home and I was I was completing with my parents that I want to make those brownies. So I remember going in and I was so excited that for the first time I'm doing anything by myself. And I went in and I made those brownies and it turned out to be so good. And I remember like my parents came in the middle and they were like, do you need any help? Because my first time cooking anything in the kitchen, So they kind of helped me and they were trying to, and I was kind of pissed, like I want to do this by myself, leave me alone and all of that. But then they helped me put it in the oven and all that, and then I was pissed, like that why they were standing there. And then in the end I was so mad that like I wanted to do this by myself and you came and butted in the middle and all of that stuff. But like I remember my brother was out, and then when he came back I remember we poured some melted chocolate over it and it tasted so good, and I still have a vivid memory of that day, of me being pissed that my parents tried to help me making it because of my first time ever cooking something in the kitchen. But then it turned out to be so beautiful, and then I went for my second class, which I think I did cupcakes if I'm not mistaken. And I think I was 12 just, by the way, when I started baking. So we had decided on 5 classes and we only had 3. So technically 2 are still pending, but I don't think I need them anymore. So we did that, and I remember like I was also doing piano on this side. So every week I would go for my piano lessons, and I would like I would tell my teacher that I made this today, or all of that, and she would always be like, when are you getting me cupcakes and all of that. So one day I actually got her cupcakes, so also like since I didn't have any equipment, I always used to ask my teacher, okay, how do I measure this, how do I measure cocoa powder? And I don't remember what, but I had this one measuring tool, and out of that I had I don't remember what it's called, but out of that I had gotten like measurements written down from my teacher. And I had no equipment, nothing. I know no measuring cups, no bowls, nothing. Like bowls obviously I had, but no spatula also I didn't have. So I remember using a wooden spatula, like not that rubber one. No, but then eventually, so as I got better, I started getting more and more equipment, So I remember my piano teacher also used to be like, when are you feeding me your cupcakes and all of that? And I used to be like, definitely. So slowly I started buying ingredients, and not ingredients but like tools. So I started buying, like, I remember I bought silicone cupcake molds, and then I bought like some chocolate molds as well, because I was kind of excited. Then I got baking chocolate at home for the very first time, because like I tried that out and it turned out to be so good, because then I got to know the difference, and you're not supposed to use a Cadbury chocolate for baking, for making, I mean you can, it turns out good, but like you use something else. I got baking chocolate and I tried melting it over the double boiler method, and then I remember putting it into these different floral molds and these different molds, and they turned out to be so cute. I mean, it was just melted chocolate essentially without any nuts or anything, but I was happy that I was making different shapes of chocolates, freezing them and giving them to my family essentially, and it was so fun, those days. And then eventually I started getting more and more stuff. I remember getting cookie cutters, my first set of cookie cutters. And also, like, while I was baking, I was still in that school, the one that I shouldn't have been in, and no one in my school, everyone used to make fun of me, probably thinking that I'm not good at anything, but they didn't know about this hidden talent of mine, that I could play the piano and I used to bake. No one knew that, but I was doing that, and I was happy with myself that I can do this. But then eventually came the time when I stopped playing the piano. Like every week I used to go for classes, but I'd stop practicing at home. I had that piano that my parents got me for my 13th birthday, but I stopped practicing because I had lost interest in. At that time I used to always tell my parents that I want to give up my piano and instead send me to baking classes, but it was not as simple as that. So it was kind of like I was not practicing. My teacher used to be pissed at me that why aren't you practicing, every week? But I was just not enjoying, because for me, I was kind of finding it boring to play the same piece over and over again, even though I was in this childish mind that I want to become either like a piano teacher when I grow up, or I want to play the pieces like Mozart or someone else, or Beethoven. But and I still kind of wish that worked out, but then you need to practice for that. So that didn't happen. And also I had exams. So when you learn any instrument, you have exams, as theory exams and practicals as well. So I used to enjoy my theory bits, but I used to find my practicals to be a little bit boring, and I was not practicing. Like, even when I would practice at home, I would practice just like one day before my class, and I would just like play for like 5 minutes and then get bored and then start doing something else, which is wrong. I don't agree with this, but I mean, in the end it worked out. So then came this day that I, many years later, like 5-7 years of me going to piano lessons, I decided to leave piano because it wasn't working out and I preferred baking over piano. So I decided to leave, and also keeping in mind, so I also eventually, out of my parents forcing me, I changed my school, and I went to this new school that they were talking about, and it all worked out for the better. So I went there, and it was so much better. So in my previous school, I had about 50 students per class. Like, in every class there was so many students, but in my new school there were only about 9 to 15 students per class. My class specifically had about 10 or 12 students, and I was like, that was really new to me, to not be in this crowd, to not be judged. And at first it was a little hard for me to make friends. I remember on my first day I was so nervous, and I remember I joined in class 9 to this new school, and I was so nervous. I mean, the 9th grader, right? And you're still nervous, but anyone's first day, even your first day of work, you're nervous. But eventually I opened up to these people. They were super, super nice. But then again, like, it took me a while. Like, I would ideally say it took me like till I feel like I really opened up to them in grade 12, but I remember opening up to them in grade 9, and so we had this subject also. So the reason also why I joined, because we had baking as a subject, and we used to, like, more than that as a subject, it was more like an activity. So we had this lab in our school where there was an oven and there was all these baking equipments and all of that stuff. So we used to go there and bake, and my teacher really saw this potential in me, and then she started sending me for competitions. And I still remember going for my first competition ever, and I was like just going casually because I knew I wasn't gonna win. And it was a cake decorating competition, so I decorated like a cake with chocolate ganache, and then I added some macarons to it, and I remember just doing some basic icing. And out of nowhere, so I'm sitting there after my competition, I'm sitting in the school's auditorium, where the competition, not our school, but some other school, and there they announced my name. First prize goes from the school that I was from, and they announced my name, and I was like shocked because I just casually went and I never expected. So I won a trophy and I won a certificate in the first prize, and I was like, okay, well, this is new, because I remember in my previous school people used to keep winning awards for something or the other, and this was a totally unusual category and a new category for me, and I had won an award in that. And that's when I realized that, okay, maybe I am going somewhere, I am good at it. So I won first prize, I remember. So then they took my award, and then they felicitated me in front of the entire school in the assembly, and I was so happy, and everyone clapped for me and everyone was proud of me, as was I. But I was more shocked than anything that something like this could happen, that I could win an award. And it was a big moment for me, for my parents, that I won an award on behalf of my school. Like, I was happy that, okay, maybe I can do this, and up till now I've just been doubting myself for no reason. And that's how my baking picked up. But I think I've spoken enough for my episode 2, and I'm going to speak more maybe next episode. But I just want to say a big thank you to everyone who heard my first episode. Hope you liked it. Just keep supporting me, showing me your love. Give this a listen, share this with people. And if you feel the same way if you relate with me somewhat, comment down below if this is on YouTube. But I just want to say a big thank you, and I'm sending you so much of love to everyone who's listening to this and who's heard this till the end. And I'm so grateful for you for doing that. And yeah, I mean, have a great day, have a great night if you're listening to this at night. And I wish you all the best for whatever you do. I mean, it's just random, but like just some words of kindness because I'm running out of time. Anyways, I'm gonna see you in the next episode, or rather, you'll be hearing me in the next episode. So yeah, stay tuned for my next episode. Have a good day. Bye.